At 6:47 a.m., on February 17, 1940, Corporal Simo Häyhä lay motionless in a snowdrift 150 meters from a Soviet supply route near Kollaa, Finland, watching a Red Army patrol of 12 soldiers march through frozen forest. The temperature was minus 43 degrees Celsius. The 34-year-old Häyhä had been in this position for 4 hours. He wore no winter camouflage, just a white snow smoke over his standard Finnish army uniform. His rifle was a Mosin-Nagant M2830. No telescopic sight, only iron sights. The rifle was 46 inches long, weight 9.6 pounds, chambered in 7.6, 2x54mm R, 5-round internal magazine. Häyhä had already killed 387 Soviet soldiers in 79 days of war. The Soviets had sent counter-sniper teams to find him. They had sent artillery to destroy his positions. They had sent patrols with orders to capture him alive. All had failed. Now 12 more Soviet soldiers were approaching. They carried Mosin-Nagant 9130 rifles. They had scopes. They outnumbered Häyhä 12-1. None of them would see who was shooting. None of them would survive the next 4 minutes. If you want to see how one Finnish farmer became the deadliest sniper in history, hit that like button. Subscribe for more impossible stories. Back to Häyhä. Simo Häyhä was born December 17, 1905 in Räjärvi, Finland, near the Russian border. His family were farmers. His father owned 150 acres. They grew rye, potatoes, hay. They raised cattle and pigs. The farm was isolated. The nearest town, Matila, was 8 kilometers away. Population 400. Häyhä was the second of 8 children. He attended school until age 14, standard for rural Finland. Then he worked the farm full-time. But Häyhä was not an average farmer. He was a hunter. Finland's forests were thick, pine, spruce, birch. The forests held elk, deer, fox, wolf, bear. Hunting provided meat for winter. Hunting also developed skills, patience, stealth, reading terrain, understanding wind, judging distance, shooting accurately. Häyhä hunted from age 12. By age 20, he was the best hunter in Räjärvi. He could shoot a running fox at 400 meters. He could remain motionless in sub-zero temperatures for hours. These skills would prove critical. In 1925, at age 20, Häyhä completed mandatory Finnish military service. Every Finnish male, aged 21, served 1 year. Häyhä served in the Sojoska, the Civil Guard. This was Finland's volunteer defense organization. The Civil Guard trained civilians for war. Finland expected war. Russia had controlled Finland until 1917. Finnish independence was recent. Russian threats were constant. The Civil Guard prepared for inevitable invasion. Häyhä's military training emphasized marksmanship. The Finnish army doctrine prioritized rifle accuracy. Every soldier qualified at 150, 300, and 500 meters. He exceeded standards. At 150 meters, he hit targets 97% of the time. At 300 meters, 89%. At 500 meters, 72%. His instructors noted exceptional accuracy and calmness under pressure. Häyhä completed service in November 1926. He returned to farming. He continued training with the Civil Guard. He attended shooting competitions. He won repeatedly. By 1939, he had won multiple Finnish national championships. His competition rifle was a Mosin-Nagant M2830, the same rifle he would use in war. The Mosin-Nagant M2830 was manufactured by Sakko, the Finnish arms company. It was a modification of the Russian Mosin-Nagant M91. The Finnish version was more accurate, better trigger, better sights, better stock. Length, 46.5 inches. Weight, 9.6 pounds. Barrel length, 27 inches. The rifle fired 7.6 2x54mm R cartridges. Bullet weight 185 grains. Muzzle velocity 2,600 feet per second. Effective range 500 meters with iron sights. 800 meters with scope. He never used a scope. He preferred iron sights. Scopes could fog in cold. Scopes glinted in sun. Scopes required raising your head higher, exposing more silhouette. Iron sights were simple, reliable, faster. Häyhä could acquire targets and fire in 1.5 seconds with iron sights. With a scope, the average was 2.8 seconds. Speed mattered. From 1926 to 1939, Häyhä lived a quiet life. Farming, hunting, shooting competitions. He was 5 feet 3 inches tall, weight 150 pounds, small by Finnish standards, quiet, reserved. He didn't drink alcohol. He didn't smoke. He attended Lutheran church. He was unremarkable except for his shooting. No one expected him to become the deadliest sniper in history. No one expected war to transform a farmer into a legend. Then on November 30th, 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland. On November 30th, 1939, at 8 a.m., Soviet artillery shelled the Finnish border town of Manila. Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov claimed Finland had fired first. This was false. It was a pretext. The Soviet Union wanted Finnish territory. Joseph Stalin demanded Finland cede land near Leningrad. Finland refused. Stalin ordered invasion. The Red Army deployed 1 million soldiers, 3,000 tanks, 2,500 aircraft. The invasion force was massive. Finland's entire military numbered 300,000. No tanks, 114 aircraft. The numerical advantage was overwhelming. 3 Soviet soldiers for every Finnish soldier. The world expected Finland to surrender within 2 weeks. Finland didn't surrender. Finland fought. Simo Häyhä received mobilization orders on November 30th, 1939. He reported to his Civil Guard unit in Mittila. He was assigned a 6th Company, JR 34, Yalovment 34, Infantry Regiment 34. The regiment deployed to the Kollaa River sector. This was 50 kilometers north of Häyhä's farm. The terrain was forest, dense, frozen. The Kollaa River was the defensive line. If the Soviets crossed Kollaa, they would advance to Viipuri. Viipuri was Finland's second-largest city. Losing Viipuri meant losing the war. Häyhä's mission was simple. Stop the Soviets. Kill anyone crossing the river. Don't let them advance. The Soviet 155th Rifle Division attacked Kollaa on December 7, 1939. Approximately 14,000 Soviet soldiers versus 4,000 Finnish defenders. The Soviets attacked in waves, human wave tactics. Soviet doctrine emphasized overwhelming numbers. Casualties were acceptable. The first wave crossed the frozen Kollaa River at 6:30 a.m. Finnish machine guns opened fire. 800 Soviets died in the first hour. The survivors retreated. The second wave attacked at 9 a.m. 600 more Soviets died. The third wave at 11 a.m. 500 more dead. By nightfall on December 7th, 2,400 Soviet soldiers were dead. The Finns suffered 68 casualties. The exchange ratio was 35-1. The Soviets had tanks, artillery, air support. The Finns had rifles, terrain knowledge, and determination. Häyhä participated in this first battle as a standard rifleman. He fired 42 rounds. He estimated 12 hits. Not confirmed, just estimates. But Häyhä noticed something. The Soviets moved predictably. They followed roads. They bunched together. They exposed themselves. His hunting experience taught him that predictable prey dies easily. Soviet soldiers were predictable prey. Häyhä requested transfer to sniper role. His company commander approved. Häyhä became a designated marksman on December 9, 1939. He would operate independently, select his own positions, engage targets of opportunity. His only restriction, stay within 500 meters of finish lines. Häyhä accepted. He began hunting. Häyhä's first confirmed kill as a sniper occurred. December 10, 1939 at 7:23 a.m. A Soviet officer was organizing a patrol 250 meters from Finnish lines. The officer was visible through trees. Häyhä was prone in snow. He aimed. He exhaled slowly. Between heartbeats, he fired. The officer fell. The patrol scattered. Häyhä didn't move. He waited. At 7:31 a.m., a Soviet soldier approached the dead officer. Häyhä fired again. The soldier fell. The patrol retreated. 2 kills. Häyhä recorded them in his personal log. He recorded every kill, date, time, range, conditions. The log was methodical, clinical, like a farmer recording harvest yields. Over the next week, Häyhä developed his technique. He operated alone. He left finish lines before dawn. He moved 200 to 400 meters towards Soviet positions. He found concealment, a snowdrift, fallen trees, dense brush. He prepared his position carefully. He cleared snow from his muzzle area. Muzzle blast disturbed snow. Disturbed snow reveals position. He packed snow tightly around himself. He left only his rifle barrel and head exposed. He minimized his silhouette. He waited. Soviet patrols moved through the forest daily. They followed trails. They sought Finnish positions. They were targets. Häyhä fired at ranges between 150 and 400 meters. He preferred 250 meters. At 250 meters, the 7.6 2x54 mm round had 2,100 feet per second velocity. Bullet drop at 250 meters was 7 inches. Wind drift minimal. He aimed center mass chest. The bullet's energy at 250 meters was 1,850 foot-pounds, sufficient to penetrate Soviet winter uniforms and kill instantly. He averaged 5.3 kills per day in December 1939. This was exceptional. The average sniper achieved 0.8 kills per day. He was 7 times more effective. His method was consistent. Fire once, wait, observe. If additional targets presented, fire again. Never fire more than 3 rounds from one position. 3 shots maximum before relocating. More than 3 shots allowed enemies to triangulate position. After 3 shots, Häyhä withdrew 50 meters. He established a new position. He waited. Sometimes Soviet return fire hit his previous position. Artillery, machine guns, mortars. The Soviets destroyed empty positions. Häyhä was already gone. By December 22, 1939, Häyhä had 87 confirmed kills. His company commander verified each one. Verification required witness or direct observation. Häyhä operated alone, so witnesses were rare. But his company observed Soviet casualties when reclaiming positions. The dead matched Häyhä's reports. The kills were real. The Soviets began noticing. Patrols found dead soldiers, single gunshot wounds, center mass, head shot, no sounds, no muzzle flashes seen. The soldiers died from invisible threat. Soviet officers interrogated survivors. Survivors reported nothing. They heard 1 shot. 1 soldier fell. They took cover. Sometimes another shot. Another soldier fell. They never saw the shooter. The Soviets called him Belaya Smr, White Death. The name spread. Soviet soldiers feared Kollaa sector. They knew White Death operated there. They didn't know White Death was 1 man. They assumed a team, 6 to 8 snipers. How else could 1 position kill so many? It was incomprehensible that 1 farmer with iron sights was killing entire patrols. On January 8, 1940, Soviet command deployed counter-sniper teams to Kollaa. These were specialized units, trained snipers, with Mosin-Nagant 9130 PU rifles. The PU was a scoped variant, 3.5 times magnification. These snipers had orders: find White Death, kill him. The teams operated in pairs, one spotter, one shooter. They used standard counter-sniper tactics: observe suspected sniper positions, wait for muzzle flash, return fire immediately, suppress or kill enemy sniper. The tactics were sound. They failed against Häyhä. The problem was Häyhä's method. He fired from prone positions deep in snow. His muzzle was below snow level. When he fired, the muzzle blast dissipated into snow. No visible flash. The sound was muffled. Soviet counter-snipers heard shots but couldn't locate origin. They watched suspected positions. Häyhä wasn't there. He was 50 meters away, already relocated. The Soviet snipers were hunting a ghost. Additionally, Häyhä used temperature to his advantage. At -40 degrees Celsius, breath creates vapor. Vapor reveals position. Häyhä held snow in his mouth. The snow kept his breath cold. No vapor formed. Soviet snipers looked for breath vapor. They found nothing. Häyhä was invisible. The Soviets tried artillery. If counter-snipers couldn't find him, artillery would saturate suspected areas. On January 15, 1940, Soviet artillery bombarded a 500-meter section of forest where Häyhä operated. 200 shells, 122 mm howitzers. The bombardment lasted 30 minutes. Trees were shattered. Snow was churned. The forest was destroyed. When Finnish scouts checked after the bombardment, they found Häyhä 800 meters south. He had observed the artillery preparation and moved before the shells arrived. 0 casualties. The Soviets wasted 200 shells. The Soviets tried infiltration. Small teams would move at night. They would establish ambush positions along routes where White Death operated. When he appeared, they would kill him. On January 22, 1940, a Soviet team of 8 soldiers infiltrated 300 meters behind Finnish lines. They established positions at a trail intersection. They waited. At 6:45 a.m., Häyhä approached. He was 180 meters from the Soviet ambush. He stopped. He sensed something wrong. Hunters develop instincts. Häyhä's instincts said danger. He withdrew. He circled 400 meters east. He approached the intersection from a different angle. At 7:30 a.m., he observed the Soviet ambush team. They were watching the trail. Their backs were exposed. Häyhä shot 4 of them before the others fled. The ambush failed. By February 1, 1940, Häyhä had 219 confirmed kills. The Soviets increased their efforts. They deployed more counter-sniper teams. They increased artillery bombardments. They sent patrols specifically to hunt White Death. All failed. Häyhä adapted faster than the Soviets. When they deployed counter-snipers, he changed positions more frequently. When they used artillery, he operated from deeper positions. When they sent hunter patrols, he hunted the hunters. His kill count increased. The Soviets also suffered from poor morale. Soviet soldiers knew about White Death. They knew Kollaa was a death trap. Volunteers for patrols declined. Officers had to order soldiers forward. Some soldiers refused. Refusal meant execution. But death from White Death seemed certain. Death from execution was merely possible. Some chose execution. Soviet discipline held barely. But the fear was real. One Finnish farmer with a rifle created fear in an army of 1 million. February 1940 was Häyhä's deadliest month. The weather was coldest -40 to -45 degrees Celsius. Soviet soldiers wore heavy winter uniforms. The uniforms were brown. Brown against white snow visible at 500 meters. Häyhä exploited this. He increased his operating range. Instead of 250 meters, he engaged at 350 to 450 meters. The longer range meant Soviet return fire was less accurate. It also meant Häyhä needed exceptional marksmanship. At 400 meters, bullet drop was 22 inches. Wind drift at 10 miles per hour was 8 inches. Häyhä compensated automatically. Years of hunting made the calculations instinctive. On February 17, 1940, the day from the hook, Häyhä killed 16 Soviet soldiers. He fired 19 rounds, 16 hits, 3 misses. The 12-man patrol from the hook was eliminated in 4 minutes. Häyhä fired 12 rounds, 11 hits. 1 soldier escaped wounded. Häyhä relocated and found a different patrol. 4 more kills, then another patrol. 1 more kill, 16 total. The Soviet 155th Rifle Division reported 23 casualties that day in Häyhä's sector. 7 were artillery, 16 were sniper. All sniper casualties were attributed to White Death. He confirmed 16. The numbers matched. By February 21, 1940, Häyhä had 387 confirmed kills. This was extraordinary. The winter war had lasted 83 days. Häyhä averaged 4.7 kills per day. The previous record holder for most sniper kills was unknown. Sniper records weren't widely kept in 1940, but estimates suggested the highest previous total was approximately 150 kills by a German sniper in World War I. Häyhä had more than doubled that. He was the deadliest sniper in history, and the war wasn't over. But February 21, 1940 was also when Soviet command changed tactics. They stopped trying to find Häyhä. Instead, they decided to eliminate the entire area where he operated. On February 22, 1940, Soviet artillery began sustained bombardment of the Kollaa sector, not targeted strikes, saturation bombardment every day, 4 hours per day, 500 shells per day. The objective was destroy the forest, remove cover, make sniping impossible. The bombardment continued for 12 days, February 22 through March 5, 1940. 6,000 shells destroyed 3 square kilometers of forest. Trees were obliterated. Snow was mixed with shrapnel and dirt. Visibility increased. Cover decreased. The Soviets succeeded in making the terrain less favorable for snipers. Häyhä adapted. He moved to new positions daily. He dug shallow fighting positions. He operated at dawn and dusk when light was poor. He reduced his exposure time. Instead of 4-hour watches, he operated for 90 minutes maximum. He fired fewer rounds per position, 2 shots instead of 3. His kill rate decreased, but remained significant. Between February 22 and March 5, 1940, he killed 73 more Soviet soldiers. His total reached 460. The Soviets had transformed the terrain. They had increased their counter-sniper efforts. They had dedicated artillery and air assets to finding him. None of it stopped him. But on March 6, 1940, something did. At 6:32 a.m. on March 6, 1940, Häyhä was in a firing position 290 meters from Soviet lines near Kollaa. Temperature -38 degrees Celsius. Light snow falling. Visibility 400 meters. He had been in position since 5 a.m. 92 minutes. He had fired 4 rounds, 3 hits, 1 miss, 3 Soviet soldiers dead. He was preparing to relocate. At 6:32 a.m., a Soviet patrol appeared. 6 soldiers. They were moving carefully. They were searching, looking at trees, at snowdrifts, at ground irregularities. They were a hunter patrol looking for snipers. Häyhä observed them. They were 320 meters away, extreme range for iron sights. He calculated the shot, 22-inch bullet drop, 12 miles per hour wind from the left, 9-inch wind drift. He aimed high and right. He fired. The lead soldier fell. The other 5 soldiers immediately took cover and returned fire. Not random fire, disciplined fire. They had seen the muzzle flash or the snow disturbance, something. They fired at Häyhä's position, approximately 40 rounds in 15 seconds. Mosin-Nagant, 91-30 rifles, 7.62 by 54 mm R, Several rounds hit near Häyhä. He couldn't relocate. The fire was too accurate. He was pinned. Then one round hit. At 6:33 a.m., a Soviet bullet struck Häyhä's face. The bullet entered his left cheek. It traveled through his jaw. It shattered multiple teeth. It exited through his right cheek. The explosive hydraulic shock from the bullet's energy tore tissue throughout his lower face. His jaw was destroyed. His tongue was partially severed. Blood filled his mouth and throat. He was choking. He couldn't breathe. He was dying. But Häyhä didn't die. His brain registered the hit. Pain was irrelevant. He had one priority: survive. He needed extraction. He couldn't call for help. His jaw was destroyed. He couldn't speak. He needed to reach finish lines. 290 meters. He needed to move. At 6:34 a.m., Häyhä began crawling. He left his rifle. He crawled through snow. Blood poured from his face. It created a visible trail. The Soviet patrols saw the blood trail. They advanced. They wanted confirmation. They wanted to verify they had killed White Death. He crawled faster. He crawled 50 meters in 2 minutes. The Soviet patrol was 200 meters behind him, closing. At 6:37 a.m., Finnish machine gunners on the defensive line saw Häyhä crawling. They saw the Soviet patrol pursuing. The Finns opened fire. 2 Maxim 0921 machine guns, 7.62 by 54 mm R, 600 rounds per minute. Sustained fire. The Soviet patrol took cover. The Finns maintained suppressive fire. Finnish soldiers ran forward. They reached Häyhä at 6:39 a.m. They dragged him to Finnish lines. The Soviets withdrew. Häyhä was alive barely. Finnish medics treated Häyhä at the regimental aid station at 7:15 a.m. His condition was critical. Massive facial trauma, blood loss, severe airway compromised. Blood and tissue filled his throat. He couldn't breathe properly. The medics established an emergency airway. They couldn't intubate. His jaw was too damaged. They performed a field cricothyrotomy. They made an incision in his throat below the larynx. They inserted a tube. He could breathe barely. The medics stabilized him and evacuated him to a field hospital 15 kilometers behind the lines. He arrived at 9:30 a.m. Surgeons assessed his injuries. The bullet had destroyed his left mandible. His right mandible was fractured. 6 teeth were gone. His tongue was lacerated. Soft tissue damage was extensive. Blood vessels were severed but had clotted. The clotting saved his life. If the bullet had severed his carotid artery, he would have died in 90 seconds. The bullet missed the carotid by 8 millimeters. 8 millimeters was the difference between death and survival. Surgeons operated for 6 hours. They debrided, destroyed tissue. They set fractures. They sutured lacerations. They couldn't reconstruct his jaw immediately. That would require multiple surgeries over years. They focused on saving his life. The operation succeeded. Häyhä survived, but he was incapacitated. He couldn't speak. He couldn't eat. He was fed through a tube. He drifted in and out of consciousness. On March 13, 1940, 1 week after Häyhä was shot, Finland and the Soviet Union signed the Moscow Peace Treaty. The Winter War ended. Finland ceded 11% of its territory. The Soviets gained the Karelian Isthmus. They gained Häyhä's home region. Raijärvi was now Soviet territory. Häyhä's family farm was lost. Finland survived as an independent nation. The cost was high. 70,000 Finnish casualties. 25,900 dead. The Soviets suffered 321,000 casualties. 26,875 dead. The exchange ratio was 5-1. Finland lost but inflicted catastrophic casualties. Häyhä personally accounted for 542 Soviet casualties, 505 with his rifle, 37 with his Suomi KP-31 submachine gun in close combat, 542 confirmed kills in 98 days of combat, 5.5 kills per day average. The deadliest sniper in history. Häyhä remained in hospital until July 1940. His jaw partially healed. Surgeons performed 3 additional operations. They reconstructed his jaw using bone grafts. They rebuilt his left cheek. The reconstruction was partially successful. His face was permanently disfigured. His left cheek was collapsed. His jaw was misaligned. He could speak, but with difficulty. He could eat, but slowly. He would never look the same, but he was alive. On July 17, 1940, Häyhä was discharged from hospital. He was promoted to second lieutenant. This was field promotion recognition for his service. He received the Cross of Kollaa. This was Finland's highest military decoration for winter war service. The medal ceremony occurred in August 1940. Finnish Commander-in-Chief Carl Gustaf Amal Mannerheim personally presented the medal. Mannerheim asked Häyhä how he became such a good shot. Häyhä replied, practice. 2 words, typical, Häyhä, quiet, understated. Häyhä couldn't return to his farm. Järvi was Soviet territory. His family had evacuated. They relocated to Ruoholahti, 80 kilometers west. The Finnish government compensated families who lost land. They provided new farms. Häyhä received 50 acres. He built a small house. He farmed. He hunted. He lived quietly. He didn't discuss the war. When asked about his kills, he said, "I did what was necessary, nothing more." In 1941, Finland entered the continuation war against the Soviet Union. This was separate from the Winter War. Häyhä wanted to serve. The army refused. His injuries were too severe. He couldn't serve in combat. He was assigned to training duties. He taught marksmanship to new snipers. He taught camouflage, fieldcraft, patience. His students asked about his techniques. He demonstrated. He emphasized simplicity, iron sights, consistent position, breath control, calm. His methods worked. Finnish snipers in the continuation war averaged 2.3 kills per day, higher than any other nation's snipers. He has training contributed. After the continuation war ended in 1944, Häyhä returned to farming. He lived in Ruuli until his death. He never married. He lived alone. He hunted occasionally. He attended veterans' gatherings. He was recognized, respected, but he remained humble. He refused interviews. When journalists asked about the war, he said, "It was my duty. I fulfilled it. That is all." In 1998, at age 93, Häyhä agreed to one interview. A Finnish historian recorded it. The historian asked if Häyhä regretted killing 542 men. Häyhä said, "I regret that the war happened. I regret that men died, but I don't regret my actions. Soviet soldiers invaded my country. They would have killed Finns. I stopped them. That was my duty." The historian asked if he felt like a hero. Häyhä said, "No, I was a soldier. I followed orders. Heroes are men who sacrificed themselves. I survived. I'm just a farmer who learned to shoot." Simo Häyhä died April 1, 2002. He was 96 years old. He died peacefully in a veterans' nursing home in Häyhä, Finland. He had lived 62 years after being shot in the face. 62 years after the Winter War ended. He outlived the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Finland remained independent. Häyhä contributed to that independence. His funeral was attended by 300 people, veterans, politicians, journalists. The President of Finland sent condolences. Häyhä was buried in Ruoholahti, a simple grave. No elaborate memorial, just a headstone with his name, birth date, death date, and one word, soldier. Häyhä's Mosin-Nagant, in 28-30 rifle, survived the war. After Häyhä was shot, Finnish soldiers recovered his rifle from the snow. The rifle was returned to Finnish army inventory. It was assigned to another sniper. That sniper used it for the remainder of the Winter War. The rifle survived. After the war, it was returned to Seiko factory. Seo refurbished it. They replaced the barrel. The original barrel was worn from firing 10,000-plus rounds. The new barrel maintained the rifle's accuracy. The rifle was then assigned to training use. It was used at Finnish Army Sniper School for 40 years. In 1988, the Finnish Army recognized the rifle's historical significance. They retired it from service. They donated it to the Finnish Military Museum in Helsinki. The rifle is displayed there. Exhibit label Simo Häyhä's Mosin-Nagant, M28-30, used to achieve 505 confirmed sniper kills. Winter War 1939 to 1940. The rifle is unremarkable. Standard woodstock, blued steel barrel, iron sights, no modifications, no special features, just a standard rifle in the hands of an exceptional shooter. It achieved exceptional results. Modern snipers study Häyhä. His techniques are taught in sniper schools worldwide, not just Finnish schools. American, British, Russian, Israeli, all study Häyhä. The lessons are timeless. Patience overcomes technology. Simplicity beats complexity. Iron sights at 250 meters with perfect fundamentals beats scoped rifles at 500 meters with poor fundamentals. Calm under pressure, adaptation to conditions. These principles haven't changed. Häyhä proved them in 1940. They remain valid today. The Soviets never confirmed who shot Häyhä. Soviet records from the Winter War are incomplete. The Soviet soldier who hit Häyhä is unknown. The Soviets claimed multiple times they had killed White Death. Each claim was false. Häyhä survived. After the war, Soviet veterans sometimes claimed credit. "I shot White Death." None could prove it. The soldier who actually hit Häyhä likely died later in the war, or died in Stalin's purges, or never knew who he shot. The Soviets fired thousands of rounds at finished positions. One round hit Häyhä. Probability, chance, not skill. The Soviets got lucky once in 98 days. That luck nearly killed the deadliest sniper in history. His record has never been broken. 542 confirmed kills. The next highest sniper total is approximately 500 kills by Soviet sniper Ivan Sidorenko in World War II. Sidorenko operated for 4 years. Häyhä operated for 98 days. If Häyhä had served a full year at the same rate, he would have killed 2,000 men. If he had served 4 years like Sidaro, 8,000 men. The mathematics are staggering. But Häyhä didn't serve longer. He was shot. He survived. He served 98 days, 542 kills, 5.5 per day. No other sniper has matched this rate. No other sniper has matched this total in such a short time. Modern military analysts have studied Häyhä's effectiveness. They concluded his success derived from 5 factors: exceptional marksmanship, intimate terrain knowledge, extreme weather creating opportunity, Soviet tactical incompetence, and luck. All 5 were necessary. Remove any one factor, Häyhä's success decreases. His marksmanship was genetic and trained. His terrain knowledge came from living there 34 years. The weather was historically cold in winter 1939 to 1940. Soviet tactics were rigid and predictable. Luck meant surviving 98 days, when probability said he should have died by day 30. All factors aligned. The result was 542 dead Soviet soldiers. The human cost of Häyhä's success is measured in 542 lives. Soviet soldiers, mostly conscripts, average age 22, most were from Ukraine, Belarus, Russia. They were farmers, factory workers, students. They were drafted. They were sent to Finland. They died in frozen forest. They never saw who shot them. One moment walking, next moment dead. Some died instantly. Some bled out in snow. Some were wounded and froze to death before medics reached them. All were killed by one Finnish farmer they never saw. The mathematics justified Häyhä's kills. Those 542 Soviet soldiers would have killed Finnish soldiers if they had lived. Each Soviet soldier killed by Häyhä meant Finnish soldiers survived elsewhere. The exchange ratio favored Finland, but the human cost remained. 542 families in Soviet Union lost sons, husbands, fathers, 542 funerals. Soviet authorities didn't inform families how their loved ones died. They were told killed in action. No details, no explanation. The families never knew their son died from invisible sniper 300 meters away. Never knew he walked into forest and never walked out. Never knew he was one of 542. Häyhä understood this cost. In his 1998 interview, he was asked if he thought about the men he killed. He said, "I try not to, but sometimes I do. They were soldiers following orders like me. They didn't choose war. Stalin chose war. Politicians chose war. Soldiers fought war. I killed soldiers. They would have killed me if they had seen me first. That is war. It is not heroic. It is not glorious. It is killing. I was good at killing. That doesn't make me proud. It makes me sad that I was needed." This reflection reveals Häyhä's character. He was not a psychopath who enjoyed killing. He was a soldier who understood necessity. War required killing. He killed efficiently. He followed duty, but he didn't celebrate it. He didn't boast. When awarded medals, he said, "These should go to soldiers who died. They sacrificed more than I did. I survived. They didn't." This humility characterized Häyhä's life. He was the deadliest sniper in history, but he saw himself as a farmer who did his duty, nothing more. The question remains, how did one farmer kill 542 trained soldiers in 98 days? The answer is multifaceted. Häyhä had exceptional marksmanship. Years of hunting developed unconscious competence. He didn't think about shooting, he just shot. Muscle memory, instinct. Second, he had infinite patience. Farmers understand patience. Crops grow slowly. Animals move unpredictably. You wait. You don't rush. He applied farmer's patience to sniping. He waited hours for one shot. Third, he operated alone. No distractions, no coordination required. He made all decisions. He moved when he wanted. He shot when he wanted. Independence increased effectiveness. Fourth, he understood terrain intimately. He grew up 8 kilometers from Kollaa. He hunted those forests for 22 years. He knew every trail, every hill, every clearing. Soviet soldiers didn't know the terrain. They followed maps. Maps show trails. They don't show good sniper positions. Häyhä knew where good positions were. He selected positions Soviets wouldn't expect. He fired from positions Soviets couldn't predict. Fifth, he exploited Soviet weaknesses. Soviet tactics were rigid. Patrols followed patterns. Häyhä learned patterns. He positioned himself where patrols would appear. He waited. They appeared. He fired. Pattern recognition was key. Sixth, he maintained absolute discipline. He never fired unless conditions were perfect. Perfect meant target clearly identified, range known exactly, wind assessed, escape route planned, finish lines within reach. If conditions weren't perfect, he didn't fire. Patience, discipline. Other snipers fired at marginal targets. They revealed positions. They died. Häyhä only fired at certain targets. He stayed hidden. He survived. But the most important factor was mindset. Häyhä saw sniping as problem-solving. Not combat, not war, just problem-solving. Problem. Soviet soldiers invading Finland. Solution: kill them before they kill Finns. He approached sniping like hunting. Hunting isn't emotional. You don't hate elk, you just kill them efficiently. He didn't hate Soviet soldiers, he killed them efficiently. This psychological distance allowed him to function at peak effectiveness for 98 days. He wasn't traumatized. He wasn't conflicted. He was solving a problem. 542 problems solved. Then he was shot. Problem interrupted. Then peace treaty. Problem ended. He returned to farming. Next problem. Grow potatoes. Same mindset, different problem. 542 Soviet soldiers killed by one man. Those 542 were removed from Soviet combat power. They couldn't kill Finns. They couldn't capture positions. They couldn't advance. One man neutralized 542 enemy combatants. Modern military theory values this. Special operations emphasize small teams achieving disproportionate effects. Häyhä was special operations before the term existed. One man, one rifle, 542 enemy casualties. Cost effectiveness was infinite. Finland invested one rifle, a few thousand cartridges, and one trained farmer. Return 542 enemy dead. Incalculable morale damage. Defensive. Success. Häyhä also demonstrated that technology isn't everything. Soviet snipers had scopes. Häyhä had iron sights. Soviet snipers operated in teams. Häyhä operated alone. Soviet snipers had more training. Häyhä had hunting experience. Yet Häyhä killed more than all Soviet counter-snipers combined. Technology doesn't replace skill. Scopes don't replace marksmanship. Teams don't replace individual competence. Modern militaries sometimes forget this. They emphasize equipment, technology, systems. Häyhä reminds them, a skilled individual with simple tools beats mediocre individuals with complex tools. Finally, Häyhä demonstrated Finnish concept of sisu. Sisu is difficult to translate. It means determination, perseverance, refusal to quit despite impossible odds. Finland had sisu 300,000 Finns versus 1 million Soviets. Finland fought. Finland survived. Häyhä embodied sisu, shot in the face destroyed. He crawled 290 meters to safety. He survived. He recovered. He taught. He farmed. He lived 62 more years. Sisu refusing to die, refusing to quit, persevering. That is Häyhä's ultimate legacy. Not 542 kills, but surviving, living, continuing, refusing to be defeated by war, injury, or circumstance. Today, Häyhä is remembered in Finland as a national hero. But Häyhä wouldn't want that label. He would want to be remembered as he was, a farmer, a soldier, a man who did his duty. Nothing more, nothing less. The 542 kills are statistics. The important thing is Finland survived. Finland remained independent. Häyhä contributed. That was enough for him. That should be enough for history. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Every like tells YouTube to share these forgotten stories with more people. Subscribe and turn on notifications. We're preserving true stories of extraordinary people every single day. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Do you know anyone from Finland? Have you heard of the Winter War? Let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure Simo's story isn't forgotten. These heroes deserve to be remembered. You're helping make that.